took some time getting to this point, didn't it? But in reaching the suffering, you and I together are finally at the halfway point in our mutual journey of entertaining Red's Rated R as a full album survey. A journey I promised you. I don't know how long it's been at this point. I've really been dragging this out, not intentionally, and I do feel that for any of you who have made your comments known within the videos I've been posting recently as to where exactly the second half of the album is, because I've seemingly left it in the air, even though the first half is currently available for viewing. Alongside my comments, the last 5 songs are non-existent in appearance here. You're owed an explanation, and I have one for you. I appreciate all of you holding on for so long with me, because I didn't foresee things going this way, and as you can see by the terminology of the video, and if you remember in our initiation, I promised you a fresh impression witness encounter. There's been a slight metamorphosis due to change of circumstance, and now these are being termed reintroductions, but still the idea of going back into Rated R no matter what appearance it takes is quite fun. And to complete this album, and what I can say to you being an informed listener on where we're going, it's true to a similar consensus of opinion I gave the first half, in that, well, I mean, generally I would expect this. I mean, this is Red, I'm highlighting here, and I've said for a long while, this is one of my favorite influences within the rock scene of what brought me in so early on. Not that hard to guess, especially since I've said before I was raised in Christian music, so the intersection with the Christian rock sphere with Red's introduction, which would have been in my later teen years, I think probably around 12, and I probably share a similar path to any of our longtime fans. The minute Breathe Into Me crosses the radio, you're like, oh yeah, this is a great group, and ever since, I've been a devoted fan over 13-ish years. And if any of you are approaching our initiation status of perhaps where I was a while back, and I hope that there are some of you that take that path. I've said before, music is best enjoyed in company irrespective to how we approach. And of course, longtime fans, you have a place here, obviously, but any fresh initiate listeners, I want you to feel welcome too, even though I would tell you, now that we're at the halfway point with track 6, I would recommend you enjoy the first 5 songs in preparation and then return. Or you can approach the suffering if you want, but at least humor those first 5 songs. Rated R is a wonderful collection. I have found considering what exactly it represents to me, it's like an amalgam of Red roots and staples from different eras and dominant traits brought together. Like various strings being pulled. A bit reminiscent to me, now that I think about it, really with, in fact, in a similar duration path, Declaration. That one also had roots stripped from other eras brought together. And Rated R has a bit of a fresh presence to it, in particular with some of the agents. I think notably the simps of what we were introduced to with Surrogates. That's been a greater emphasis this time around, but this is a great collection. I found that it's still the same Red that I know and love, with a bit of a new face, at least the form of what I'm experiencing alongside you. The first 5 songs have spoken to that. Though again, on anticipation, you can expect that Red's going to deliver. They always have for me. And if any of you again approach on initiation status, not just with respect to Rated R, but you question where to begin, I could recommend anything to you. Go into their older library, listen to whatever they have available, you will not regret it. There are way too many recommendations I can possibly give you, at least off the top of my head. Now, as we approach this suffering, as I said, slight change of form in this now being termed reintroduction, which will still be fine, it's just not what I foresaw. To give you a window, I've been saying for a while, I've been promising in fact, that Red would be quickly posted. That was my belief, because in the midst of covering tracks 2 and 5, I went through Rated R the same day, so all 7 songs were cataloged, but I took a break in between tracks 5 and 6. And unbeknownst to me, I don't know this until after recording, I've now taken steps to ensure this is not going to be the case anymore, because, and I will tell you, Red has not been the only group impacted by this. For unforeseeable tech malfunctions, my adapter seemingly was not... It's been really glitchy, and I think it's my phone. I've got an iPhone 8. I probably need to upgrade. I'm like generations back almost on everything. And it seems what I'm surmising right now is a loose connection within the charging port on my phone. Unfortunately, when I recorded those first 5 songs, I still have those impressions cataloged on my computer. I'm not happy at all about this. I've been quite livid with my technology lately because of the error. Those last 5 songs, and I did try to fix this, although I'm not a proficient Audacity user of it. I did try amplifying it and it didn't work. The audio was a bit stripped and garbly. The mic I normally use for recordings didn't pick anything up. So unfortunately, you would have gotten a real mess with the songs displayed, and you deserve better in terms of production quality. I could have tried fixing it, but it just would have come out sounding really bad. So if you forgive again a bit of a change of path in that I didn't foresee this. But I keep my word on things, right? We're returning to Red in a slightly new form, but still the general excitement's not lost. The second half, in fact, in terms of me being an informed listener, though I have taken steps to make this as fresh as possible, I've intentionally stayed away from the last half with exception to one track just based on my memory, and that's the next one, Still Bleeding. You'll understand why that's an exception when we get to that. But intentionally, I have been waiting out on the second half on re-listening to it, so that this can be as fresh of a reprisal and reminder experience, and that it won't be entirely fresh. I did hear these pieces some time ago, but maybe there's some things that are undiscovered about them that we're going to experience in a reintroduction together. Though again, anybody who approaches, I'm assuming many of you are going to be seeing this in reintroduction territory, any of you familiarized Red listeners, but maybe some of you have not yet entertained it. I can say, in anticipation, the first half of Rated R was great, but the second half carries on that same response. This really is a great collection. Just 10 songs in, it's extremely tight, and I love the presentation of it. To have an album that is entirely aggressive-based, which is a first pull for me in terms of metal and rock music, to be inclusive. That's what I prefer, though I keep an open door to anything, and Red has some variability I've exercised in the past. I appreciate the rock root of what is returned so beautifully with Rated R, and you'll see the energy for yourself in entertaining the suffering. That same root continues on in our last 5 pieces together. It's great to return. I'm excited to do it again for Red and to be able to finish what I promised you. You know, I have a way of laughing off my stress, and I'll tell you, I've had it with my technology. And again, as I said, it's not only Red that was impacted by that error. I mean, don't even get me started about Exit Eden or Glory Hammer especially. The last 5 songs of the 10 I surveyed were all... Anywho, that should not be the case anymore. I have an alternative setup. It takes a lot more steps to get things out, but this is going to work. It better. Anywho, we're taking a reintroduction journey, so if you give a slight change of form, we're coming back into the graces of Red and Rated R in the last half, as promised, and we're making good on that today. Again, however you approach, and I welcome everybody. But let's return to it with the suffering and get a reminder experience in which this will unlock the access for me to be able to return to Rated R without having to postpone the second half just on a re-listen. Anywho, let's jump back into the swing of things together. Common thing about this album, too, these twisted intros, you think they're so sentimental and soft, and this might encode or prophesy a break period. And that variability is warranted with Red's music. That's been persistent in past albums. But, as you'll see, it's quite common to this particular entry. It's starting to come back. I remember this one. Oh, this one's voice in particular, but the aggressive riff, and I know it's a bit static, but I appreciate just that harsh root.
You know, everybody's seen the way you've waged this war against me. You thought that you'll be free.
The vocals on this one really shine. That's also common to Rated R. I remember this. That was a shining element. Ah, man, I love it. It's brief, but it's a wonderful recap to minus it all. I love the effect there, too. This one's even better. I don't think I noticed that before, but the key changes behind the word. That's interesting. It's the precision in the changes I really respect with this one. I never knew to get that core riff construction. It's so rad. you hear the fluctuation again on the key under the word? Just on that last, the end lingo. Even there too. I love it. It's so simple. Man. You know, I've spoken in high regard of so many unclean vocalists or those that perhaps drift into different places, and there's many within the metal sphere. Do not even get me started on certain landscapes. For example, the European rock market. That's been one lately. You know, Mike is one of my favorites. I love this guy. The vocal control in this particular number with some of the isolations, but to get that key focus on those drifts, whichever aspect to the chorus is in particular, I remember thinking back on that initial introduction encounter, which I think back on that fondly because that was supposed to be what went up. Even though maybe this will be better because there's things that I didn't notice about that. Maybe part of it is because I bought a new pair of headphones yesterday. That could be an easy explanation. The chorus, though, as I was saying with that, specifically, I believe on grows in the second chorus, and I believe grows and no in the third near the conclusion. Do you hear that drift underneath the word on key? In that it doesn't follow in the path of where you expect the vocals to go. Even if you use the first chorus as measure, you get a template for what it's supposed to sound like matched, and it feels encoded. Like, I'm trying to think of where... As I've said many times, music connoisseur, not a musician by any means. Well, I have a five-year piano history. That was some time ago. So I'm trying my best to approximate what I'm thinking in terms of some loose musical terminology, or at least approximations. To me, it sounds like within the second chorus and the third, it drifts on those specific words I've identified to a sharp or a flat. Like, again, it sounds so differentiated, but it's a change I respect. There's really a delicate precision with this one. Although, again, it's familiar in terms of track structuring on Rated R. That's what I've said before in the past, that the way we originate, it has that softer interlude that's a bit different, right? It takes on a bit of a... You think... Especially, and this is warranted again in past album considerations of Red over different eras. You think, and this one again is just it's a 10-track window, whereas let's say Of Beauty and Rage by comparison is 15. So there are warranted spaces for pause numbers, and that one has a couple interludes. I think it's still like 10 numbers generally, other than the interludes. Yeah, 12. Certain pauses, and you see this all the time with different rock groups. There are places intended for breath spaces within certain albums. And this one, I've been saying, I said this with the last track, Tell Me How to Say Goodbye. It's like, we're the fifth track, so a pause track would be warranted, except this is what's so creative about these pieces, it's interwoven into the numbers. So the way we introduce ourselves, again, you think you're getting that differentiated experience, but then instantly it falls back into that heavy rock emphasis with the riff isolation, which is beautiful. It's so Red. I love the faster pace on this one. In particular, the emboldened facade to those riffs, that's so Red. It's just such a root to their work. But this one has great tracking to itself. The evolution of The Suffering is a great number. Those vocal drifts, though, I love them. I've not been able to forget about those ever since the beginning, and that would have been... As I said, of Minus It All, with, like, let's say, even though appearances there, it would have been in the chorus. I'm trying to think back on the number just briefly. It would have been on Survive and Fall. I think Fall kind of matches, but Survive, it's even if it's like a similar key. With that note, I think it goes from a G to an A and then back down to a G. So it's like a mountain structure. I think Fall is a G to an A or an A to a G. I forget. With the And I Know, here it appears slightly differently because you have such an emphasized drift that just naturally paves its course to that higher inflection and cuts off immediately. I just love that swing on the words. And it just has such a nice vein to it on rock expression. I know it's brief, it's just something I really like about this piece. And again, there's different facets of what you can examine The Suffering to be. It's a core Red number, just through and through. I love the heavy root to it. It's beautiful. Plus the unclean vocals are something special. with the isolations too, and for there to be a permitted space for those growls to linger. I love that, and Mike just has such a beautiful stylization to his voice, and whenever it's placed in terms of that rock metal Fred, and Red crosses over both regards for me, but this album really something special. I just didn't notice everything about this piece again on Initiation, Witness, nor maybe in Circumstances After. I didn't see that underlaid key change with those words. That I know, again, it's so small, but you appreciate the delicate, fine-tuned nature of these numbers, don't you? It's so specific, but I love it. Maybe simple earlier. I was thinking this too when I said it. Like, maybe that's wrong. Well, no, simple. Maybe simple sounds. I don't know. You get what I mean. It's just it's such a small thing, but I think maybe delicate's better. Simple sounds like I'm unintentionally dissing or being critical. I'm not trying to at all, because I respect that fluctuation. It's such a beautiful style of voice, and it is a bit different to some of the rest of the album. Again, to have the expectancy that music and key will match vocals, but then to have it change so abruptly within that word is great. I love that unforeseen route. Even if, again, we can presume that our journey through Rated R will be great. I love that change, don't you? It's fantastic. Suffering sounds even better now. I love returning, though, to Rated R with you. I promised this a while ago, and it's finally great to come back and finish what I started. What are your thoughts on this piece down below? I'd love to hear it. And if you do wish to provide your point of vantage, wherever you happen to be a longtime fan or initiate listener, again, I welcome either side. I'd love to hear what you think of the Suffering. It's just great to finally be able to come back to Rated R. I promised this so long ago, and now we finally get to do a reprisal journey, though that's not what I foresaw. Maybe that'll help, though, because there are aspects of these pieces that I did not necessarily see. I mean, if you think the Suffering is the only case of this, oh, I can't wait to get to the next number. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but you think the Suffering's good. If this is a first taste for you, ooh, I can't wait for you to enjoy the next one, and we're going to. I'm looking forward highly to that number, as I really am the entire journey with Rated R. I did it on Initiation. I loved it on that first encounter. I still have just as much reverence, if not more, for it. Understandable with Red. I absolutely love these guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. Before you bounce, feel free to drop a like and comment, subscribe to this channel with a ding on the bell, and share this video with your friends. And consider checking out the description here. There you'll find links to my other channels, as well as addresses to my other social media accounts and ways you can help support my work if you feel so inclined. May God bless you, and looking forward to when our paths cross again.